Today we take a trip into the Twilight Zone, looking for goofs, mistakes, mysteries of what might have went wrong behind the scenes, and perhaps the greatest, most imaginative show to ever air on television. Some of these mistakes actually seem to deepen the mystery that is in the Twilight Zone.
You are about to enter another dimension. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
In the episode Where Is Everybody?, Earl Holliman from the series Policewoman and the movie The Sons of Katie Elder plays Mike Ferris, a man who is lost in a small town where he appears to be the last man in the whole world. Or is he? Even though Ferris is completely alone in the small town, in the phone booth you can actually see a reflection of someone right next to Ferris. In one scene there's a lit cigar in a local jail, but no one is around to claim it. Could this be the man? And why can't Ferris see him?
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man.
Anybody here?
He may not want to know the answer to that.
Hey! Hey!
If you look closely at the glass, you can see ghostly figures hovering back and forth. Figures that Ferris cannot see, apparently. Are these mannequins moving positions between shots? Or is this some sort of optical illusion?
Now you think about that now, because this is the Twilight Zone.
Ferris is in a jail cell in this scene where the door starts to close on him. He runs out in fright, apparently still seeing no one. But that no one leaves a shadow exiting out the left. Who are these invisible people that seems to occupy no solid space?
But now I've had it, I'd like to wake up.
For the next episode, Mr. Denton on Doomsday, we travel to the Old West. Or do we? At first, nothing seems unusual. We have a wagon riding up to an old western town. But off in the distance, towards the upper left, you see what is probably modern-day oil rigs. Of course, in the Twilight Zone, casually strolling from one century to the next is perfectly normal.
It's time enough at last.
Time Enough at Last, of course, has stood out as one of the best TV episodes of all time. Burgess Meredith stars in this one as a man who just wants to be left alone to read, and he gets his wish, and an atomic bomb makes him the last man on Earth. As Henry Bemis walks through the rubble, he stubs his toe against a large concrete boulder, which moves easily, despite the fact it should be heavy and unmoving apart from the use of heavy equipment. Could this be foreshadowing of another Twilight Zone episode, Mr. Dingle the Strong, where Meredith is granted super strength by aliens? Or could Henry Bemis be on his way to becoming a superhero in this reality, due to the radiation from the bomb, instead of course, dying as one might think? In the episode Perchance to Dream, Edward Hall is a 35-year-old man with a heart condition who fears his next nightmare will be his last. In reality, the actor Richard Kiel in this episode was 49 years old. I've noticed that in the Twilight Zone they had a habit of using older actors to play younger characters, and it seems like most of the male characters, but not all, were usually designated as 30-somethings.
Of ordinary people. To most of them,
The first tiny goof in this episode, if you blink you miss it, the lady sticks her hand through the door where there should be a pane of glass.
Age 35, occupation draftsman, single, heart condition, no history of mental disease.
What I thought was a little off was the man has a heart condition. He's scared to death of dying, so much so that he's afraid if he falls asleep and has one more nightmare, he will die. Yet this man with a heart condition still smokes. I wonder if it had anything to do with the sponsor.
21 great tobaccos make 20 wonderful smokes.
You know, they say that running can make you look younger. And it seems to have helped Richard Kiel, because when he does this running stunt, he looks like he is 35 all of a sudden. I did find it perhaps coincidental and definitely depressing that the actor died actually of a heart attack at the age of 65 in 1975.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
In the episode What You Need, time flows backward just for a second, even though it has absolutely nothing to do with the episode's story. Notice as the cigarette smoke is flowing backwards into the man's cigarette instead of outward.
journey into the shadows that we're about to watch could be our journey.
The next two goofs come from the episode The Hitch-hiker.
Her name is Nan Adams. She's 27 years old.
Take a good look at Nan's car. It appears to be a Mercury model. Now, after being hounded for several miles by the mysterious hitchhiker, Nan tries to run him down with her car. But the really bizarre thing is that the car has not only changed models, it's also changed colors into a dark black. And then it's back to the same Mercury. And here's the really weird thing. She sees a sign that says gas up ahead. She turns around and goes the opposite direction and still manages to run into the gas station. Now, this happened earlier in the episode. When Claude Akins tries to start his car, Jack Weston is at the end of the car. A young girl walks up to the car, looks in the passenger window, and all of a sudden when the camera angle changes, instantly Jack is there and replacing the girl. In the episode, A Thing About Machines, an old man hates machines, and the machines come alive and hate him right back, so much they try to kill him. His own car tries to run him down without a driver. Or is there more here than what we were led to believe? Careful observation indicates that there was someone in the car, hiding below the dashboard. Perhaps if they could not kill Mr. Finchley, they hoped to drive him insane. Adjusting the color, it's easy to see the shadow of a driver who was no doubt responsible for all the machines going crazy in Mr. Finchley's home. And now we know, despite what we were led to believe, it is apparent that Mr. Finchley's car did not come alive and try to kill him by itself. It had a driver. Examining the shots, lightened up of course, of the doctor from Eye of the Beholder, reveals that the doctor and the nurses may have been shapeshifters, or were wearing masks to try to drive Ellie Mae Clampett insane.
But why? Why must we feel that way, nurse?
I think it could have been a scam to get all of her money.
Why shouldn't people be allowed to be different? Why?
Or it could be that they were prejudiced against her because she was from the country and they were city slickers. Just a guess.
Now you think about that now, because this is the Twilight Zone.
In the episode Mr. Dingle the Strong, Burgess Meredith picks up Don Rickles over his head, and well, I'm sorry, I got nothing. Clearly this was not Burgess Meredith or Don Rickles doing this stunt. Yeah, despite the fact that Burgess Meredith did train Rocky Balboa, I don't think that's him. In the episode The Rip Van Winkle Caper, 4 fully dressed gold robbers are gassed and fall asleep when in glass cases for 100 years. However, 100 years later, when one of them is discovered dead by the others, his body is a skeleton, but his clothing has completely vanished. They use some sort of gas, of course, to keep themselves alive and preserved for 100 years, but I wonder what they used to keep the gas, oil, battery, and tires from going bad on their truck. And whatever they did was wasted because this jerk decides to run over his buddy with the truck and off a cliff for some reason. The episode The Grave is a very cool Western episode with a small goof that still manages to still look okay. If you look closely, you can see a vertical line in the sky where the backdrop art was folded. But just look at this still of Lee Marvin. I mean, is this not cool looking? I mean, this would be an amazing comic book cover or any other kind of art. I mean, it just... anything with Lee Marvin in it anyway is a great episode. Did you ever wonder why the giant aliens in the episode To Serve Man, played by Richard Kiel, had to dunk to go through doors in their own spaceship? In the episode Night Call, an elderly lady is being harassed from a phone call that seems to be originating from the cemetery.
Hello?
When she is sitting in her car at the cemetery, there's a person's reflection visible in the car window. Now that's spooky. Sometimes goofs just make a show even better. Or maybe Rod Serling meant for us to see that years later. In the episode The Changing of the Guard, After Professor Fowler has a friendly ghost encounter with former students that have passed away, and he goes to a window to hear carolers, his glasses appear and disappear and reappear again. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please hit the bell for future notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Please hit the like button and let me know what you think about the video in the comments below. Thanks and have a great day.
Thank you and good night.